round of applause.
Welcome to the virtual campground. We are so glad you are here. And looks like, look, it's working.
What? Oh,
the microphone is
microphone's
working, I think. So, can you hear us? So,
He wasn't too sure.
Well,
of
yeah,
course.
the microphone wasn't working just before we went live. So, a little bit of a panic mode, but I'm fine now. I'm fine. Everything is fine.
Sure. You sure? Okay.
So, yeah, welcome. We are here to talk about one of our favorite places, Ouray, Colorado.
Yes, we are. It is one of your favorite places. We've been there many, many times.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, so we're going to chit-chat for a bit. We are in a state campground in Indianapolis, and it's gorgeous out here, so we decided
That's
to
a
do it
real
outside.
background.
Yeah, that's
Not a Zoom, what do they call them? Zoom
background. Yeah.
Not that. It's real.
You can see the vehicles in the background, so it is true.
You might hear birds. It's very pretty.
As
we get into the golden hour.
Yeah. Well, yeah, we're kind of there now.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a little hazy back there.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So let's see. Okay, Drew says we're looking good.
Thank you, Drew.
Thank you, Drew. So yes, I think sound. So got a few people in there.
All right. You ready to talk about Ouray?
I think so. I mean,
we're not really doing. I mean, for those of you that have been to our live show before, we're not doing like our normal format with news and all that other stuff.
No, Deborah's news. How sad.
Though I did hear some news today.
No.
Did you know?
You just can't resist.
I can't resist. Did you know that they're thinking about charging not an entry fee, but a parking fee at the Smoky Mountains?
I heard that.
Because they can't really. It's hard for them to do an entrance fee because there's so many entrances, but they can charge you the parking. The bad thing about that is your America the Beautiful pass won't.
Oh, they're not going to
count.
Oh man,
it's right.
Yeah. Well,
so
anyway, I always wondered.
We'll
I thought it was strange that it was free, but it was just so big and wide open. It's impossible.
Well, and there were a lot of rumors about did it have something to do with because they had to buy a lot of the land from the two different states and private people, so they wondered if that was something. But we'll see. I don't think it's passed yet, so we'll keep an eye on it and let you know if we hear definitively.
Look at that. Drop in some Deborah's news even when we weren't supposed to.
There you go. That's your little tidbit for today. Hey, Mom. Happy belated Mother's Day.
Hi, Patricia. So, so let's talk about Ouray. No, so it's not just Ouray. I mean, it's the surrounding area.
Yeah, it's the San Juan Mountains
area. And,
right.
It is just beautiful. It's a photographer's paradise. It's just everywhere you go, there's something beautiful to photograph. And so we went there. We spent about a month there, right? And
if you add up all the different times we've been there, we've probably been there much more than a month. So we're counting Ouray, Telluride, Ridgeway, and even as far as Montrose.
Yeah.
So all of that area is really the San Juan Mountains, which the San Juan Mountains are in the, the southwestern corner of Colorado, right? And that is, the San Juan Mountains have 14 of Colorado's 14ers.
Oh, do they? I don't know. No, I don't think they do. They have a 14er. I don't think that it has 14 14ers. Mount Sneffels, I don't know. We'll correct it in the show notes if I'm wrong. But Mount Sneffels, I believe, is the only 14er in the range.
I think there's at least one. No, I'm pretty sure there's more, but
we'll figure that out.
But definitely it is elevated. So usually, just even in Ridgeway, it was like at about 7,300 feet. So Ouray is a little further up, not much, but a little bit further up. So, and why do we go to Ouray so many times, or that area so many times? Why have we been there?
But besides the fact that it's the most beautiful place on earth, one of the most beautiful places on earth. We did Benton Downs did a photography workshop there.
At least twice.
Twice.
Coming again in the fall.
And then
got another one in this fall.
Yeah, got one coming this fall.
In
so
October.
If you like what you see, then come join us for Benton Downs photography workshop. And then we were there for Camp Carpe Diem.
Last fall, that's right. Last October we were there with all of our favorite people that came to Camp Carpe Diem.
Yeah.
And had a blast. So some of these pictures are actually from that visit, and some of them are, of course, from our other trips there, because we went there before you even had a workshop. So we've been in this area several times, know it pretty well. We've stayed in multiple areas, which we'll talk a little bit about campgrounds at the end of the show. So
Yep. All right, so do you want to talk about history at all, or?
Well, I want to talk about why should people go. Why should people go? We've talked a little bit about it. Of course, it's beautiful.
Yes.
So that's that's one of the main reasons to go. But that said, it is also a paradise for anybody that's into recreational sports. Yeah, I mean, you can ski there in the winter.
Telluride is beautiful for that.
Telluride's amazing. You can, lots of hiking, lots of mountain biking, some great mountain biking trails. You can ice climb there.
Yeah. I can't.
No, you can't. And I can't. But other people can. There's a national or international competition in January there, right?
That ice canyon, whatever it's called, icebox canyon.
And when it's not icy, you can actually do a climb there along it's called the Via Ferrata, I believe.
Look at you.
Look at me. Yeah, Via Ferrata or something like that, where you have the chains and the things that are driven into the walls of the rocks, and you can climb your way across. Our friends, I think the Wheelers did that while we were there last fall.
Really?
I think they did.
Wow. I don't think I'll be doing that.
No, I know you won't. No. A, I think we couldn't, and B, we couldn't. So yeah, that would definitely be. And the other great fun thing there is off-roading. So we're going to talk a little bit about that too later. Yep. But there's some really great trails for off-roading.
So many Jeep trails.
And if you are a fan of the original True Grit with Mr. Wayne Duke, it is the place to go, because they filmed quite a bit of it here. This area is just off of Owl Pass Road, right?
This is Owl Creek Pass. This is near the summit of Owl Creek Pass. And it's the famous shooting scene where the bad guys call John Wayne fat, and he says, "Load up your hands," or something like that, and they go at each other. But
the big shootout.
We pass right by this on the way up to the pass.
Yep. So that's an area, and then Ridgeway, the city of Ridgeway, has a lot of the scenes from the movie, and they have signs around that tell you that this is where the hanging scene was, and this is where this scene was. So that's kind of fun. And then, of course, in Ouray, there's at least one sign that's sort of one of those John Wayne ate here kind of moments. So it's
there's
definitely
the True Grit Saloon restaurant kind of thing. Yeah.
That's in Ridgeway. Yep. So lots of opportunities if you're a fan of that movie. Yeah. When's the best time to go to this area?
Well, anytime. I think fall is my favorite, just because of the fall colors. I mean, it is
for us. That's the optimum time.
Yeah. So but that's also obviously the most popular. So everyone wants to go during the fall because of the beautiful fall colors.
Unless you want to go Telluride, then you want to go in the winter.
If you want to go skiing. Yeah, that's the thing. Whatever you're into, you're going to go there for that season. So if you're in for skiing, you can go there in the winter. If you're into beautiful landscape photography, fall's a great time, spring's a great time, but you can't go too early in the spring because so much of it is still covered by snow or ice or whatever.
But they do get 240 days of sunshine. They get a lot of snow as well, but they do get a lot of sunshine. For us, the absolute best is fall. October is really kind of when it peaks. But even if you go in the summer, while July might be the hottest it gets is in the 80s. So for us Texans, we're like, okay, big deal, 80s. But then in January, February, it can get below zero. So that's not my favorite time.
I don't want to mess around there. Except, we have been skiing in Telluride, and it is one of our favorite places to ski.
It is gorgeous. Gorgeous. So Ouray is called the Switzerland of the Americas because it's just so quaint and sweet. It is on the National Historic list because of the main town, the actual street, the historic street, or the main street. Unusual for a mining town, which is what Ouray was. It never had a burning. It never burnt down. So a lot of the buildings have been there since the beginning and are still being used as stores and hotels.
Really cool downtown.
Very cool downtown. And then also there is the Ralph Lauren Ranch. That we actually have driven past.
Yeah, that's part of one of our favorite little roads to drive is going down past his, and I had a picture of it somewhere. I do have a picture of downtown Ouray. So this is from heading up into the $1 Million Highway. There's an overlook of the town. So it's a beautiful little town, fun to hang out in. There's even a waterfall. Did you know that?
I did.
There's a waterfall in downtown Ouray.
So
so that's pretty cool.
Well, we'll find it when we're talking more about the rest of the town.
We'll come. All right. I'm being told by my producers. We'll come back to that.
Instead of looking for it, we'll come back to that. So in the history of that area, of course, it was originally Native American tribe, the Ute tribe. I think that's how you say it. Ute tribe lived there. But then, of course, in the late 1870s, prospectors found gold. So they started coming in, and it became a huge mining town. Two prospectors found two big veins, and then Thomas Walsh came in and bought them out and created the Campbird mining.
Oh, yeah.
And he made millions of dollars, but he was a really good mining owner. He took care of his employees. He helped make sure they had places to live. So there was a lot that he did from a charitable perspective as well for the town and for the folks, and really establishing this Campbird mine. Mm-hmm. And his daughter, Evelyn, she's one of the first too rich for her own britches kind of person. She got married, and she actually owned at one point the Hope Diamond, which many people thought was cursed.
That's pretty amazing.
She did have a few things happen to her, but she would wear it gardening, they said, out in her backyard. She just thought, come on, curse, I guess. So, but yeah.
And you can still see the remnants of parts of Campbird Mine.
Oh, yeah.
Near the base of one of the Jeep trails.
Yes. Yeah. A lot of the off-roading goes by mines. Imogene is another mining area that you can go around or by. So at one point, thousands of people moved into this area because of mining, though they did say at one point there were more horses and mules than people, because that's, of course, how they got the gold and the silver out. And if you go up the highway from Ouray, then you get to another one of the mining, the Red Mountain mining, and that's where a lot of also activity happened. But like I said, you can still go there and see, when you go to Ouray in particular, a lot of the original buildings. And you can actually, there's a hotel there that you can actually stay in. And at one point, the very rich and famous stayed in that hotel in the turn of the century, and you can still stay there.
Yeah.
It's been renovated.
Cool. As a matter of fact, I think it's for sale.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I think we did see that it was for sale. So, should we talk about Ouray in particular for a little bit?
We should.
Yeah, let's talk about Ouray. And if anybody on the
chat
in the chat has any input on Ouray or any of these areas we're talking about, please feel free to pipe in. We see some friends have joined us. So, and we know several of you have been to this area. Yeah. So, talking about Ouray, so there are some great breweries and restaurants, of course. Of course, we found those, right? That's usually what we find.
Absolutely.
On Main Street, there's a really good meat market that we highly recommend.
We went back to that a few times.
They process their own meats. Yeah, we did. Really good bacon. And then we just talk a little bit. Oh, we should talk about this. Getting to this area.
Yes. Yeah. So there is the exciting, interesting way, and then there's the more boring way.
Which we recommend you take for the purposes of driving your rig.
Yeah. Well, the boring way or the exciting way?
The boring way.
So if we drove our rig over the $1 Million Highway.
Yes,
so
we did. That's why I recommend you take the boring way.
There's the $1 Million Highway coming from Silverton into Ouray, Colorado. And then I forget what it is, 50 or something coming out of Montrose down into the Ridgeway area and then into Ouray. So
much longer, but
yeah, and it's more
steep.
Boring. It's not as interesting.
When you say interesting and boring, let's explain this. So, $1 Million Highway is exceedingly steep and curvy,
with
much
lots
of
drop-offs. Guardrails.
Yes, with no guardrails.
Yeah, but it's beautiful.
Oh, it's gorgeous. Not saying it's not gorgeous. Yeah. I'm just saying, oh my goodness, it's scary. Yeah. Especially for the passenger, since the drop-off is on my side when you're coming from Silverton into Ouray. So yeah, so that's a little. So depending on your how you feel about heights and how you feel about your rig.
Yeah, if you're not really comfortable, don't do it. And then, but drive, get in your tow vehicle or whatever.
Oh, definitely do it, but only in a tow vehicle is my recommendation. Yeah. So this originally, there wasn't really there was these rough roads up there. So they got Otto Mears to build this road. Did you know that? From Ouray, they convinced him to build it up to the mining town, that Red Mountain mining town. Yeah. And he did that. And then he was allowed to add a toll. And we saw a picture, I wish I'd found that picture, of him and the toll road. And it looked like it was this big with a horse and carriage on it, and he was charging people a toll to be on that. And then the town of Silverton, he convinced them to pay him to keep the road going on through to Silverton. Since then, it has been, of course, very much upgraded. It's at least 2 2 lanes,
Yeah.
one way each.
And they still haven't put out guardrails. Though.
No, still no guardrails. But in Mears' time, it was only 1 lane. I don't know what they did when they had to pass each other. I guess they knew who was coming. I don't know. they had a probably a schedule. So, but that is one way to get into Ouray, and we recommend driving it definitely. For the views, because it's gorgeous.
Yeah. Do you want to show some pictures of that?
Yeah, let's show some pictures. There's a beautiful overlook.
Yeah.
And you did this overlook, I believe, when
there we go. There we go.
when it was a Milky Way.
Yeah, so no moon. It was a new moon. I guess there's always a moon.
Yes.
I mean, technically, I'm no astronomer, but there's always a moon. But yeah, it was a new moon, and caught the Milky Way there. This is over Mount Abrams, at one of the stops along the way, $1 Million Highway. Crystal Lake is up near the pass, and it's a beautiful still lake. And especially if you're there at 2 a.m. doing a Milky Way photo.
It's going to be very still.
Yeah.
And quiet.
But it's also a great location for some fall color. So that's
and a hike. There's a beautiful hike right there. We
nice
went on.
Yes,
that. Absolutely.
Yeah. So and then further on up, there's one of the little mining towns that's near the top of the pass.
And you can this area, I think this is the Red Mountain mining area, and you can look at some of these buildings, and then they still have a lot of the mining stuff up as well that you can look at. You can't go really in it, but you can certainly see it and get out and take some pictures.
One of the mines that you can get up to is the old Yankee Girl mine. So you can drive up to this. It is a pretty rough road, but you can you can definitely go up that. And I'm not sure I'd recommend it in a regular vehicle, probably a high clearance vehicle. Yeah. But it's a cool thing. But you can see it from that pass. So this is the view from the top of the pass on $1 Million Highway. So. And then there's some interesting colors in the water. Why is that?
Because the mountain, the rock, is iron and has iron ores in it, so it causes the water to be red.
Yeah, so it creates some really beautiful streams and waterfall kind of things along there. So yeah, it's a beautiful road to drive. And we went on the other side. I didn't put a picture in here. We went on the other side and down towards Silverton, and we stopped and saw some moose. This may have been when we were on the Bent Downs photography workshop. Saw some moose or mooses.
Moose.
And then so lots of photography opportunities.
Yeah, there is. We also saw a herd of moose when we were leaving Ouray, headed towards Montrose. Basically, they had come down into somebody's ranch, and that was kind of cool too. Yeah. So definitely some wildlife around there. But yeah, so you can ride from Ouray across $1 Million into Silverton, which is another cute little mining town with a couple
pretty small, but neat.
Got some cute little shops to stop in and places to eat. And actually, I think that's an area that we've had some friends do some boondocking in. So keep that in mind if you're into boondocking. But in Ouray itself, we talked about they have restaurants and breweries. They also have some great hikes. They have one hike called the Perimeter Loop, and it essentially goes all the way around the city. It would take you several hours to do it if you decided to do it. That's actually, I think, the one at Clear Lake. But if you did the whole Perimeter Lake or Loop, it would take you several hours and definitely pack a lot of water and some snacks, because it'll take you a little while, and you're going to dry out with the elevation, absolutely. But you get some really pretty stunning views. You're going to cross a couple of things, including get a little bit nearer to the Box Canyon Falls, which is the falls that you showed. And I did a part of this. I went from the neighborhood, like off of 2nd Street, I think it is. You took it straight up and then across over to the baby bathtubs. That's a kind of fun little hike as well. The baby bathtubs is just a part of the stone that has been eroded out to look like little baby bathtubs. But that going straight up was a little rough on me, I gotta say. I think I liked it better when I parked near the baby bathtubs and went around instead of straight up. It was good cardio, absolutely good cardio. And you can visit the Ouray Ice Park. You can go visit that, and like we said, you can do the Via Ferretta. I think there's another word I'm missing in there, but you can go do that. But again, not for us. Box Canyon Falls you do have to pay to enter. It's a small hike, but it's an easy hike. But you have to pay to enter to go see those falls. You can see them from the perimeter loop, but if you really want to get up close and personal, you have to pay. I think it wasn't very much at all. And then there is another thing that Ouray is very popular for.
Hot springs.
Hot springs, exactly. As mining evaporated, actually, they decided they needed to turn to tourism, and so they used these naturally fed sulfur springs that they have to help, of course, help with medical issues, but also people just like to go there and sit. And they built a huge swimming pool area, entertainment area, but activity area, and some of that is from the springs. And then, of course, there's a couple of places you can go to soak in the springs that's privately owned, one of which is clothing optional.
Good to know.
We didn't make it there either. But you can.
Yeah.
So one of our favorite breweries, just because of its legend, I think, more than anything, is the Mr. Grumpy Pants Brewery.
Great name for a brewery.
Yes. And we did meet Mr. Grumpy Pants. He said he wasn't, but he really was. It's a hole in the wall, didn't you think?
It's not much to speak of, and
it looks like
he is
something
really grumpy.
It looks like what it probably looked like back in the 1870s, in many ways.
Yep.
Yeah. It was very odd art.
I liked Ouray Brewing a little better. But,
yeah, it had a nice upstairs rooftop.
Yep.
That was really nice.
That was
so
cool.
That you got a good view from that. And there was another restaurant across the street that, of course, I'm not going to remember the name, that was the place to be at sunset because, again, nice rooftop. So, and then one of our favorite places to stop at was the Moose's Chocolate and Coffee. So they had a good mixture of ice cream, chocolates, and coffee drinks. So, and then across the street from that was a really fun kitchen store that had a little bit of everything, but was great.
Yeah.
Had bought Barry a knife there.
Yeah.
What do you call it?
Chef's
Cooking,
knife.
A chef's knife. That's it. Because they had a great selection. So, what else about your
Colorado Boy?
It's another brewery there.
Brewery, so was that in
It had several
Ouray?
locations.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So they did have one in Ouray. Yeah.
So Ouray's just a nice little town to walk around and go to the shops.
Oh,
and
shops,
see the beautiful views. Go see that waterfall, and good time.
Drive it, hike it. It's also a place that if you went to Telluride and take one of the off-roads, is it Imogene? You'll end up in Ouray, or you can do, I guess, either way. You can go from Ouray to Telluride, or Telluride to Ouray.
And that's from a Jeep trail perspective. That's not too technically difficult, and it is a beautiful trail. There are parts of it that are a little bit dicey, but if you have some experience with high clearance driving, it shouldn't be a problem.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so that was Ouray, and then as you come out of Ouray, you end up going towards Ridgeway, which has the only stoplight in this whole area. All these towns I'm talking about, well, Montrose aside, but Ouray, Telluride, and Ridgeway has the only stoplight right at the intersection of the two highways. So they also they're a lot less touristy, I would say. They're more like where the real people live.
Yeah.
But they have this really fantastic town square park that beautiful trees where a lot of the True Grit things were filmed. They have a railroad museum that's really interesting. But they have a farmer's market and different festivals that'll happen in that town park. And it's right center. We really
liked Ridgeway.
Yeah.
It was nice.
It was nice. It had probably the only reasonable grocery store in the area. And even then, and so.
Reasonable being relative.
Yeah. But some really good restaurants as well. And that's where the True Grit restaurant was. Yep. It also had a little playhouse that was doing different plays. So you could also go there just for some entertainment.
Yep. And a really good, I highly recommend, I'm not going to remember the name of it, but there's a Breakfast Kate's place or something like that. Great place for breakfast. So when we would go out on the photography outings, we would come back after our sunrise sessions and go there for breakfast. Really good.
Yes.
So there you go.
There you go.
All right.
So, and then from Ridgeway, you can easily get up to, what's the highway there to get to Telluride?
I believe that's 62 is that scenic drive, and then you turn left off of that, follow the signs into Telluride. It's about a 45-minute or so drive to get into Telluride.
Okay. And Telluride is truly one of the prettiest ski towns
gorgeous,
probably in
yeah.
Colorado, which, I mean, there are a lot of beautiful little Colorado ski towns, but Telluride is special. You have a picture of the main street of that, right?
Yeah, somewhere I've got a photo. There it is. Okay, so this is the main street, typical looking little mining town, cool shops and restaurants all along there. High Five, is this where High Five Pizza was, or was that in
Yes, I think so.
Breckenridge? Okay, so yeah, so this is really cool. And then another place that we went to on our photography outings when we drove over there was a place called Baked in Telluride, which is an awesome name. But it was a cool bakery with fun stuff to eat and a good coffee shop. So, and then this has always fascinated me. This house that sits on top of this Bridal Veil Falls, and this is at one end of Telluride.
It's basically the end of Main Street, really.
Yeah, yeah. So, but it's some sort of power plant or something, if I recall.
It's a hydroelectric plant was built in 1895.
Yeah.
It's the second oldest in the country.
That's pretty cool.
Or in the world, actually.
But it's on private property, so you're not supposed to get up close to it. But there is a Jeep trail that takes you not far, that takes you fairly close to it off to the left here. Maybe Black Bear. Black Bear is a pretty intense Jeep trail, though, so make sure you study up on that before you go do any of these Jeep trails that we talk about.
So Bridal Falls is one of Colorado's tallest free-falling waterfalls, and for a while people were doing waterfall climbing on it, which sounds, ice.
Oh, ice when it iced over?
Yeah, I don't know. What is that called? Yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And they were mega hard. The most difficult waterfall ice climb in North America, according to some.
That's crazy.
But you can, from Main Street up to the ski area, you can take a free gondola.
Oh, and the ski town. So it's interesting. So from Main Street in downtown Telluride, you can take the gondola over to the ski area.
Up to the mountain ski area. Because it's really two separate areas. There's sort of the Main Street of Telluride with a lot of shops and restaurants, etc. And then you have this whole mountain village, which is where the skiing actually happens. Yeah. And there is a gondola that'll transport you from one to the other. Yeah. So I guess especially for people that aren't staying up there. Yeah. So
really cool.
Very cool. It has a fun little arts district as well. This is also, and it has, and I forgot to tell you this about Ouray too, but it has a great bookstore. You know how I am about bookstores. So it does have a really cute little bookstore. And did you know that the bank in Telluride is reportedly the first one that Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kids robbed?
No kidding.
Yeah. You think I make up this stuff up? What? No.
Well, I thought maybe you'd make some stuff up, but
no,
I guess
they got over $24,000, which back then that's got to have been a whole lot of money, right? Yeah. Exactly. So let's talk a little bit. So we have this sort of triangle of towns: Ouray, Ridgeway, and Telluride, which have a lot of off-roading.
Yes.
Yes.
So if you don't have a Jeep, it's worth looking into a Jeep rental or taking a Jeep tour. There were lots of tour operators.
You can do a tour with somebody, but if you want to rent there are several places to rent in Ouray and also I believe in Montrose. I looked into it. It was like $100 a day.
Yeah.
So it is going to be kind of pricey. But, in a day you can get a pretty good off-roading experience in. There are several that we've done. We've done the Imogene Pass. Mm-hmm. When I say we, I don't know that I went on all of them. The Royal We. Imogene Pass. There's Yankee Boy, right?
Yankee Boy. There's we're going to talk about. Well, there's Owl Creek Pass, which is technically not a Jeep road per se. It's just a rough country road. And that's the same thing with County Road 9, County Road 5, County Road 7.
Yeah, County Road 9 is the one that goes by the Ralph Lauren ranch.
Yeah, so this is like Ralph Lauren's ranch, Double RL Ranch or something like that. So this is...
basically driving through it on the county road.
Those are all his signature cows. What would they be?
Branded cows.
Yeah, his brand cattle. Anyway, up there on that left side, that hill on the left side is his home.
If you Google Ralph Lauren's Colorado Ranch, you can see some beautiful pictures of the actual inside of it. We got out our binoculars and we kind of found the pool in the house. So you can see it from the road, but it will take binoculars.
Yeah, what a beautiful view out his backyard. There's one picture that shows his pool with this view. It's just pretty incredible. But anyway, you go further down there, you end up in a place called Box Factory Park,
which was so cool. And we were there in May, and it was still quite a bit of snow.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, it's a gorgeous place.
So, and we had to cross a little bit of water in the Jeep, but otherwise it was a pretty easy Jeep ride. I don't remember getting scared, so that's how I qualify. If I'm not scared, then it's pretty easy.
Yeah, there was one tiny part that, was tiny bit rough, but
or narrow, but
yeah,
not bad at all. But
bad.
Then there was one road we did. I think that's the Imogene, when we went up to that old mining road.
Mm-hmm.
That was scary.
Yeah, Imogene has some pretty narrow parts.
But you can get up there and you can see how old mine town. I mean, what's
Yeah.
left of it. Some wood and shacks and stuff.
And it is, if you want to do something like that, I personally recommend, from a photography perspective, that you get up early in the morning, drive over to Telluride, go to Baked and Telluride, get your coffee and your donuts or whatever, kolaches, and then hit Imogene or Imogene, depending on what part of the country you're from, and then go take it up to, because the mining town is on the Telluride side, and then so you could spend some time there, and then take it on up, go over the pass, and then go down, and then you'll end up back in near Ridgeway. It's a beautiful drive.
But it's got like 3 hours.
Yeah, I would plan on 3 to 4 hours.
So don't do this thinking you're going to do it for the golden hour in the evening, because once it gets dark up there, that would be scary.
Yeah, no, you do it early morning. Mm-hmm. If you do it that way, you do it early morning, so you've got the sun mostly at your back, and it's
that helps. Yeah. And then what is the other long drive we did that has all the beautiful aspens and the beautiful views?
So one of the most famous drives is the, oh my gosh, the
Yankee?
name just escaped me. No, Yankee Boy is one of the Jeep trails, but it is, oh my gosh, what is the name? I mean, it's so famous
that you have forgotten
that
the name.
I've forgotten. Well, I'll remember that. And I completely forgot to throw in pictures from that thing. Although this photo is on the way to it, but that's part of the view. What is that road called?
Jan, if you remember the name of that road, please let us know.
Oh my gosh, I can't believe I've been on it half a dozen times and I can't remember the name of it.
And that's the one that goes by the True Grit barn as well, right?
Yeah. So on the Ridgeway side of it, you go by the barn that was used in the opening scene of True Grit, Last Dollar Road.
That's it, Last Dollar Road.
Yes.
His memory is not as bad as we thought.
Last
Dollar Road.
So anyway, Last Dollar Road's a beautiful road, lots of beautiful aspens, and I can't believe I forgot to put pictures of that, because that's one of the best places to go. But you take Last Dollar Road. It's a rough road, but it is not necessarily technical. You don't have to have a high clearance vehicle.
No, we've seen Hyundais on.
Our Jeep broke down, and I had to do it in my son's Volkswagen Jetta. So
not recommended, because it is a little bit rough.
You want to take it
Can
slow.
do it. Yeah.
Take it very slow.
But you get some huge, beautiful groves of aspens and just fascinating views. And you actually, on that view, you get a really good image of Wilson Peak. Which, do you know why Wilson Peak is so famous?
No.
You do.
I do?
Well,
Coors Light?
Yes.
That's the Coors Light mountain. Okay.
It's the mountain on the Coors Light can.
Yeah. Coors Light. Well, yeah, Shrek will like that.
So, yes, you can go over there and do that drive and see it. It is beautiful.
And I did put some pictures in. Another drive that we mentioned earlier was Owl Creek Pass. And that's a beautiful drive, and that's the one that has the scene for the True Grit shootout, and it's a fairly easy drive, and takes you up to some scenes like this.
Which I think that's called the Cathedral in Chimney Rock or something.
Mm-hmm. Yep, Chimney Rock.
What's that a picture of?
Those are aspens that I just moved the camera while I was shooting.
Cool.
So yeah.
And then the other one that you did that I didn't go with you is Ophir Pass.
Ophir Pass, yeah. Oh,
and
my
they
gosh.
have some really interesting aspens. These are famous aspens that I did not know about.
Ophir Pass is a little rough and really, really, really narrow at some points. There's a long shelf road area that if someone's coming up, you have to figure out a way to back up, and it's really scary at some point. But there are parts of it that have these dancing aspens, and they're kind of hard to find. But if you go on our photography workshop, we'll take you to them. Anyway, they're off of Overpass. It's a cool little drive. If you're looking for an extra drive to take, I would recommend it.
Okay. So that's that area. Now, as you go a little further out, or I guess what would that be, north, you'll head into Montrose.
Mm-hmm.
And Montrose is probably the biggest town in that area.
Yeah.
So it has tons of grocery stores. It has lots of restaurants and different things. It has our favorite coffee shop, Coffee Trader.
Oh my God, the Coffee Trader's amazing. So, and this is important, the Coffee Trader on Main Street. So it's an old 2-story house, and has gigabit internet coming into it.
It has huge, great, fast internet.
Yeah, and there are little rooms upstairs. You can get your coffee, get your whatever muffin, and go upstairs. And sometimes you can get the private room, and it's fantastic.
Or you can sit outside on the patio. It's also very lovely. So that's there, and then right across the street is the brewery.
Oh, that's right.
That it's great to visit. So you go there in the morning, and you then can visit Horsefly.
Horsefly, very good.
Thank you.
Very good. Seems like I had. Oh, yeah, and then did we want to talk about outside of Montrose?
Outside of Montrose, you definitely want to go to Montrose because it has a national park, and so you want to get your national park in, and that is the Black Canyons of Gunnison. So you can go there, and again, as long as you don't mind some heights, it's a really cool place to visit. We actually we got to visit it a couple times, but once we went there and we got to see it when it was COVID. So we were literally, I think, 2 of the 8 people in the entire park, and that was kind of cool. Yeah. And then we went back another time and we did the hike down there at the point, Wilson's Point, I think it is, with
Somebody's
the
point.
Group. Yeah, down at the end. And that's a nice, there were some steep parts, but totally doable for anybody that's a normal walker, hiker. Again, if I can do it, most everybody can do it. So Warner Point, that's it, Warner Point Trail at the in the national park. So that's a great place to visit. And then if you keep going north, you'll end up in Grand Junction. Now, my thing about the drive from Montrose to Grand Junction, it's really boring. Yeah. It's very deserty and just, but if you like that, it'll be pretty.
There's one kind of cute town that's in between. I can't remember the name of it, but yeah, for the most part, it's
a pretty boring drive. But it's about an hour, a little over an hour. But again, it's got some good grocery stores in it. Like I know it has a Sprouts, so I like to go to the Sprouts. So I drove up there to go to the Sprouts. But it also, not far from there, has the Colorado National Monument, which we really enjoyed driving through and highly recommend.
We were really surprised by that, Colorado National Monument.
Yeah, we didn't expect to find it. It probably should be a national park, but the locals don't really want it to be. So it's a national monument instead, and it's really cool. It's sort of like visiting Grand Canyon in a really short period. Yeah. A little bit of Zion and a little bit of Grand Canyon all in one place. It's really cool. Yeah, really cool. Neat place. Rock formations and stratifications of the rock. It's really cool.
And there is a campground up on top of that, or somewhere on top, to look into. It was
if you're a small vehicle.
Something for
because they have one area where you have to go under an arch, so you really have to watch your height restrictions and with restrictions on that. But there is a really great state park not far from there that's a great park to stay in. So you're right. So that's about a 5-hour round trip if you go up to Grand Junction and back to Ouray.
And if you do it during peach season, you get some of the most amazing peaches we have ever had. The Palisade area is just is known for their peaches, obviously. Palisade peaches. So gorgeous.
Really nice. So that is, I guess, the majority of that area for you. Now let's talk a little bit about things that we would recommend you do. Definitely check on festivals because they have a lot of festivals in this area. I know Telluride has a film festival. They have different. You can actually find the Palisade peaches when they're in season, which I think is in September, late August, September, and you can actually find those in Montrose. Usually, I stop at any stand you see along the road because they're going to be good. Yeah. But lots of festivals and things to do in these areas, so definitely check on the calendar if you're going in there. We also would recommend definitely checking to see if you have off-roading or any kind of vehicle. You want to make sure you have the right kind of vehicle.
Oh yeah, I mean, if you're going to be going off into some of these Jeep trails we've mentioned, you definitely need to be equipped with the right kind of gear. Either you're renting it locally, or you rent it from the airport when you're flying in, or you look at one of the local providers for their Jeep tours.
The other thing we would recommend, or that Barry in particular I think looks for, is the new moon cycle, so that there's very little moonlight, so that you can get the Milky Way is usually in
the best time to get the core is going to be in the summer, but the Milky Way is obviously always there. It just depends on how much of the core you're going to get.
So watch the timing for the Milky Way. But even if you get just the new moon, you're going to get so many stars. This is an area that is a dark sky area, and the stars are gorgeous.
Yeah, especially if you go up there near Crystal Lake, which we showed you that photo of earlier. If you go there after sunset and wait a couple hours, it's just stunning with all the stars.
So let's talk about where they should stay.
Okay.
All right. So in Ouray in particular, we've stayed in a couple places.
Yes.
In that area, I should say. So we've stayed at the KOA Ouray, which is a nice KOA. It's multi-level, and it's got a little creek going through it. They have a nice barbecue and a restaurant. So they have a lot of things going on for them.
Yeah, it's probably the most RV friendly if you're looking to go the most comfortable route.
Yes, absolutely.
And they'll rent Jeeps too, by the way.
Troy and Penny are awesome. The owners of it, and they do have rentals there, and they decorate for the Halloween or for the different holidays, and they are doing a lot of cool stuff up there. So it's changing all the time. In fact, we interviewed them. That was one of our first interviews, so we'll link to that interview in the show notes. But so that's one area. Probably our favorite place when we're staying up there is the Ridgeway State Park. It's right off the Ridgeway Reservoir, and it is year-round. If you're a boater, there is a lake there, and there is also fishing. You can stay at the Dutch Charlie area, or where this area is the
Pacha Chupac.
Yeah, Pacha Chupac. And that has full hookups. So that was our patio. We had a great view. We looked out actually on the highway, but you can't really even see that. We had deer come through our area. It was just stunning. Beautiful area to sit and watch the falling stars.
And that's a view towards Owl Creek Pass there. So, well, 2 week maximum. You do have to buy the Colorado State Park Pass, like most state parks, but well worth it.
Yeah, and if you're going to be in the Colorado area for any more than a couple weeks, buying the state pass is worth it, because they have really nice state parks.
Yeah, once we got it, we started intentionally looking at other state parks and stayed at a few others. So it paid for itself.
Quickly.
Yeah, it's a gorgeous place to stay. So we stayed there for 2 weeks, then moved over to KOA for a while, and it was nice.
In Montrose, we stayed at the River Bend RV Park, which is not very far from the Indian Museum. They also have some cabins there. So that was a really nice little park.
Yep. And we are aware of a new park that's being built out now that our friends used to own. Heath and Alyssa Paget used to own a RV park there in Montrose. I can't remember what they named it, but
I'm not sure that you ever. Well, it was just on what do you call
Hip
it?
Camp.
Hip Camp.
Yeah,
and I don't know that they ever got a name.
Yeah, they called it something.
Okay.
So, but anyway, if you look for a park,
it's right as you're leaving Montrose on your way into Ridgeway.
Barely outside of Montrose. So nice little tiny park there.
And one of the times we went to that area, we stayed in the Lethe, which is a little bit north of Montrose. We stayed in the Uncompahgre River RV Park. Uncompahgre. The one thing I would tell you about that park, it's an adorable park. It was really nice, and it looked like it was also growing. A nice couple owned it. Just be careful if you're there in April.
Yeah, don't go there when the cottonwoods are dropping all the snow.
It has beautiful cottonwood trees that offer great shade. However, at this one particular time of year, they blossom and little pieces of cotton.
It was like a blizzard outside.
It really was. I mean, looking out the window, it looked like it was snowing, and it was just whirling around, and you had to get up on the roof and
had to unclog the air conditioner.
So
it was insane.
Be careful around that time of year, which I think was in April.
Was it April? Okay.
Yeah, April to May, something in there. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So
when they were leafing out, I guess. Yeah. So yeah, that was a crazy experience. I mean, that was a neat little location. Wasn't much to the town, but
there's a couple wineries not far to go do some tastings. Olathe is well known for